Okay, let's now explore nutrition during a deload. So, deload nutrition is basically how we eat during a strategic reduction in training intensity, volume, or frequency. Now, deloads are the subject of a lot of controversy. People say you don't need deloads if you train hard enough. You don't train hard enough to deserve a deload. Blah blah blah. Deloads have been used by many people very very successfully. I generally find that they're really good for performance goals. They're not as good for hypertrophy goals. When you're doing performance goals, you can deload more proactively. If you're doing hypertrophy goals, you can deload more reactively. Now, with a general population client who's not super serious about their goals, in that level 1 or level 2 client, life will generally deload them or doing reactive deload by taking 1 or 2 sessions easier every now and then. For advanced clients and people who are super serious, you do need to do deloads. But we cover this in the programming module, so you don't need to stress about too much. But what we want to do is be aware of how we eat during them. So if we look at our caloric intake in that time, we can manage a reduction in training load and make sure that we can actually facilitate a higher degree of recovery. So it's basically the intensity of training is produced. Nutrition allows us to, obviously prevent fat gain, build our muscle, and also restoring hormonal balance. Okay, so that is an important thing to do. Some people, if they're pushing really hard, it can negatively affect the hormones. So a deload, generally 1 week, but it depends on the training cycle. Some go up 2 weeks. Long-term build-up of fatigue, it can be a little bit longer, but that's generally how long we'll program a deload. So in a standard periodization format, you would do 5 weeks of hard training, getting progressively harder, then it would be 1 week off. Now, that could be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It doesn't really matter. There's no actual upper limit to how long a training phase can go if the client is recovering and doing well. So we would deload. Generally, what we do is I actually reduce calories just somewhat, okay, depending on how much training volume has been cut, okay, based on what's going on. You can go below maintenance, this one, for a little bit of fat loss, and it actually takes advantage of some autophagy. People get a little bit better recovery when we do this, and we reduce the carbs because it's less energy is expended. We keep protein relatively high, and we get fats a little bit higher as well, because that's going to help us with the recovery. Now, with food choices and hydration, we focus on the good stuff, just as we always do. Really, really simple stuff here. Now, the possible downsides are loss of muscle, and that's if you drop too much, so we don't do that, and difficulty of fat loss. Now, I don't care about fat loss in a deload because we're dealing with performance-based athletes. The reason we drop the calories so much is because their TDEE will account for the amount of training that they're doing. So with most performance athletes, you're not looking to go up weight classes unless you're doing specific hypertrophy phases. And they're not going to need deloads there. They're going to need to have a shift in training phases. So it's slightly different to a mini cut because you're not trying to lose weight as a goal. We're just reducing the amount of intake relative to the food. Now, how to minimize risk? Really simple. Moderate reduction, moderate carbs, maintain protein. Really easy. Now, training is significantly reduced, like 40 to 60% drop down. We do very little cardio and lots of mobility, flexibility, and active recovery, and no progressive overload. At the deload, what we should generally find is people will have physical recovery, mental recovery, and some minor weight fluctuations, and they'll find that they look better in the mirror simply due to water retention dropping down.